Welcome to this year's Newman Lectures. We've had educational programs for years. A few years ago, we decided it was appropriate to name them after Eric Newman, so we called them our Eric Newman Lectures, and we have two tonight. This year, we're doing something a little different. Our lectures this year are thematically related. They're both around the concept of found coins or, in one instance, currency. And these are situations where collectible items were unknown, and then they were discovered and became available to the collecting community, which is very exciting. The two Newman lectures tonight will focus on two aspects of that. The first one will be on metal detecting, which is, as Chris said, C4's kind of theme this year. And the second one will be on hoards and shipwrecks. The first Newman lecture tonight, welcome to give it, is Wayne Shelby. Wayne Shelby's talk is called Metal Detecting and Its Impact on Colonial Numismatics. Wayne is the C4 Regional Vice President for Region 7. Is a longtime C4 member. He and others have reinvigorated C4 this year with a focus on metal detecting, which is a longtime passion of Wayne's. He not only metal detects, but he's also written several excellent and well-regarded articles on metal detecting finds of colonial coins. And Wayne, we are very excited for your talk. Come on up and welcome Wayne.
Good evening, everybody. I'd like to bring up metal detecting and impact on colonial numismatics. I've been a metal detectorist, I guess, 37 years, roughly. And when I started back in my day, it was a different way altogether. They had machines that weren't like they have today. They didn't have computers. You couldn't use spreadsheets. You couldn't do anything to list your finds. You had to do everything by hand. So times have changed. But to start the program, I just want to give a general introduction as the difference between colonial numismatics and metal detectorists. Since basically what this is about is trying to bring together the metal detecting world and the coin collecting world, because there's so much knowledge on both halves, and we need to get them together so we could decipher and look into new finds and relate information to each other. And I think it's very important, and that's basically what my talk's about. So with that said, excuse me. Doesn't click over, right? Maybe if I touch it. I don't know, unless I try this over there. I guess I'll have to use this down here and not to. Do you want to touch screen?
No.
Oh, okay.
Oh, you were touching my non-touch screen?
Yeah.
I'm touching your non-touch screen. Old school.
Numismatists, okay. They're generally serious and persistent collectors with both coins and related artifacts. Their knowledge acquired through books, auctions, shows, research, and camaraderie. Coins and artifacts are collected through purchasing, possibly trading pieces that fit one's goals. Items sought after usually need to fit certain guidelines, such as by grading services, quality, condition, color, or surface. Other collecting habits include type, variety, rarity, provenance, etc. Many new discoveries are made. But in the metal detecting world, it's a little bit different. The people are usually persistent in finding time to get out, to swing their machine, explore new locations, whether it's in the field or woods. Their knowledge is usually acquired through the finds themselves. Friends, Facebook, online forums, computers, searches, various ways like that. There's no real guidelines to collecting, just whatever comes out of the ground at that time. Guidelines, basically they talk about what different machines that work at different places. There's so many different machines to choose from today. You have beach hunting, you have field hunting, you have woods hunting. There's various types, and some people are really into collecting through different machines to use in different locations. That's kind of like a major factor in some of the metal detectorist world. There's no collecting habits, possibly decisions on how to display, organize, or store their finds. Many new discoveries are made with some historical context. So there's a little bit of difference between the two collectors. Both have the same intent to find something good, something interesting, and something that's worth talking about or worth finding. So that's one common goal. Okay, I'm just going to give a little bit of background history on my metal detecting. I began in 1986. And like I mentioned earlier, things are a little different. You have handwritten documents. What I would do is I would list them on a county map is what I would do. I would fill in all the county map with a yellow crayon to show the areas that I walked so I wouldn't forget where I've been. And if there was something worthwhile, I would put an X. Or if there was something that actually was a site there at one time, a house site or something where I found numerous coins, buttons, etc., then I would give it a site number. Okay. And that's one of my early books here. This is an example. Site 12, Morristown, New Jersey. Just down the road from where Roger Moore used to live. What I would do is list all the coins that I found, total coins, and the dates and what they were. But some of the coins I did not list back then that didn't have dates on them because even though I knew what they were, they would turn up again in the end when I counted them to figure out what they were. I would just list them as a George II or a Spanish piece, or if it's wore out, and it would turn up later in my surveys. And what I would do on the reverse side of that page would be to describe what other items come from there: artillery buttons, Jews hearts, Navy buttons, Pennsylvania regiment buttons, and then I would give a remarks. What was there? Small amount of brick or pottery scattered, evidence that something was there, possibly a house site or some kind of something with it that I would remember that. So that's how it all began. Then this is a picture of a map that I used to use back in the 80s. And the orange, like I said, is where I walked. The little X's where the sites are. And if it's numbered, then it means it's a site that's documented, like that one I showed you in the slide before, like site 12. Actually, site 12 is probably on it. Here's site 12 right here. So that's how they did it. And here's a wider snapshot showing the northwestern part of Burlington County, showing a lot of the fields I walked over here. So it involves thousands of miles over these years doing this. It's not easy pickings. You spend a lot of days out there, you don't find nothing. Other times, you strike it pretty good. There's a picture of me out in the Pine Barrens out there in Jersey. One cold December day, I think. It was kind of a cold streak, so in the sandy ground in the woods keeps the ground from freezing. So I moved towards the sandy woods till that freezes. And there's various methods in finding a site. Farm fields are usually the easiest way to find them the best because you could just walk a farm field. You pick an area where you see a lot of old homes. 1,700 homes that are still standing, and there had to be more in that general area, so you walk the farm fields all through there, of course, get permission, and you look for scattered bits of brick and pottery and glass, and when you see something, you turn your machine on, and when you hit something real old, you don't have no trash, because a lot of these sites I'm finding are basically pre-Civil War, and they go all the way back to the 1600s, late 1600s. So in the woods, it's a little bit different. You can look for silver holes. You use your metal detector. You listen for iron. You get an area where there's a lot of iron, and you kind of search around. Do you find the main area, the main source where it's coming from? And that's another way to find it. You often look near water, higher ground, because they too needed water. And it's kind of the same thing as like finding an Indian site. When you look for arrowheads, they usually built somewhere close to water, so you could get that higher ground, and that's common, and this was a practice back then when the Europeans came over. In fact, they probably just settled on the same ground that just some of the Indians had. And You could also research libraries, historical societies, aerial maps. You can now get U.S. geological LiDAR. If you go into U.S. geology, and you can go in and use their LiDAR system and then bring it up on the map, and you actually could clear a forest, look for cellar holes now. And that's free to everybody. So I'm going to start doing a little bit more of that this year. Okay, so out of all those years of collecting, I decided to write a survey in 2003 for C4, and that was the first of 3 surveys. And each time I did it, of course, I had much more items to list, and I went deeper into it. So the latest one in 2020 is on our website drop down. You could find it there, or you could Google it too. Use my name in Colonial Coins. It'll be on the web, and it'll be a 69-page article. And but within that, over the years, I use those articles to write smaller articles to get in-depth information on certain topics and certain finds that are important to numismatics. So these articles are an overall. Oops. So what I did was those sites, I would kind of summarize them into, like, I would go through all the sites and say, okay, I'm going to start with England first. They're all broken down. How many, all the different variances of English coinage, I should say, that were recovered in my article. And so it tells you exactly how many were found. English Cromwell, I found one of those at 2 pence, half groat. 1, English Charles II farthings, 15, so it goes that way all the way down. William III half pennies, 50. 104 George II half pennies, and it goes all the way down. So once I complete that, I go into a different country and just do one for each. France, Spain, Portugal, that's common coinage. And then from there, for each country, I would break down to total. Okay, I found 305 English colonial coins, 253 half pennies, including 50 counterfeits that I could tell. And it just breaks it down into little segments that make it important and understandable that you could break it into percentages at the end, is what I did. And so this right here just says what I was talking about. The survey provides an in-depth view into the circulation patterns of the small denomination species. So in other words, all the finds I've been finding all these years, they were probably pocket change, pay for small transactions. They weren't, these people, these were house sites. Some people had money, others were poor, but basically the people didn't carry large sums of money like 8 reals, gold pieces in their pocket every day. They probably stored them at home or something like that, hid them. But for normal transactions every day, you're going to find what I've been showing you: half pennies, farthings, Spanish pieces, basically up to 2 real. Anything over that's extraordinary, because I mean, they're found, but they're not in any abundance. They were probably used by merchants or the rich in a certain areas, maybe at the ports or along the river where big business was done. But out in the country or this or that, they were hidden. So what they're losing is money that they use to buy things every day. Okay, so after my whole survey was written, there was, out of the 1,300 coins I found, counting federal coins, 636 were foreign colonial or Confederation period, and illustrate the following. So English coins come up to 48% of the colonials are English half pennies, whether they're George I, II, III, William and Mary, Charles. Spanish America, 117 pieces or 18%. And that's basically 1 half real through 2 real. I've never found a regal 8 real. I found 11 counterfeit 8 reals that were plated. Most of them were cut in half, cut third, or hold, but I've never found a large. So that goes to show you how they kept their money pretty tight and safe. Confederation issues, meaning jerseys, Connecticut, Vermont, etc. 15% of the coins. And we have Irish coming in with 11, French 3, Portuguese 2, other world coins 3. Now, if you break this down even to farther little things, this is very interesting. There's 3 basic coin types and denominations, highlight our circulation patterns. These 3 basic types account for 424 pieces out of 636. And it's 66% of the coins, just a little bit. English half pennies, Irish half pennies, Spanish American silver, the small denominator. Those 3 pieces there account for 66% of the coins we used in the general South Jersey area. Here are some of my finds here. A little bit of everything. There might be a couple federal coins in there. Yeah, I got a chain sitting there in a 94, but I got a mass cut third, but a little bit of everything mixed in there. Fugios, you don't find too many of those down in South Jersey, Jerseys, some Connecticut's. Had some buttons. I had an article in C4, fall 2019. They're dandy buttons. They were used in the 1780s and 90s. Usually the richer people like to have fancy buttons. But and a lot of times people would try to act bigger than they are and buy these buttons to wear anyhow. And they would come with fancy designs. They were popular in the 80s and 90s, 1780s and 90s, back when basically when all the Federation coins were being used. Some of them most of them probably made in England. They had some button factories over here, but it was just starting, I believe. And here's some artifacts. Solid silver shoe buckle. These are wax seals or glass. There's a glass one down there with a horse. I found that 2 years ago. I really like that one with red glass. They use that for sealing wax sealing documents. We have your buttons, shoe buckles here. That one has some gold with it. These are also stamps, it's not a wax seal, but it's a different type of seal. And scale weights. And just things like that. It's a kind of find is the usual finds. So by utilizing the survey, additional articles are written in smaller, more detailed parts or topic areas. That was my main theme of writing one big article, so I could use it to further more information. And which I'm going to do here coming up is I'm going to show some examples of that. Now, this is in the winter 2011 newsletter. Site 13, it's now a warehouse district. I found a metal detecting site there. I believe, gosh, that was a long time ago. That was like in 1989. The first day I walked in there, I found a 93 Liberty Cap, large cent, rarity 7. That's the first coin I popped out of that site. And I found a bunch of other things. And but a month after that, they started, Rogers is right down from your house, the old house, about 2 miles from where you live. But metal detecting, they started tearing it up. They're building warehouses. And back at that time, they took their time. They didn't just go scrape everything away and fast build. It was like a gradual thing. They would scrape the topsoil, and then I'd get in there and hunt it, find a bunch more stuff. Then they'd scrape a little deeper and gives you more opportunity, and you find more stuff. And then I guess they were putting in the driveway and parking lot, and they put one last thing, and you can see the outline. It was once a house there, and there was burnt wood, and I found some huge pipe stems where it was way below the plow zone, but there was no more iron, no more anything. I was below everything. The only signal I got that was non-ferrous was a gold guinea. So that was hidden right there in the house, on the inside of the wall, or outside of the wall rather. And I got with John Kleberg on it, and he said it was a counterfeit piece. And which makes it interesting is that being documented like that and being hidden like that and it being counterfeit, that's like very unusual for anything like that in the States to be found like that. He said basically what that is evidence that they possibly hid the coin so he wouldn't be charged with a felony. I mean, if you counterfeit gold, they could put you to death. Gold or silver. If you counterfeit copper, you would most likely get fined or something along those lines. But by that coin being hidden that way, it just conforms to the practices that they had in Europe at the time. There's the gold guinea there, 1779. There's on the front cover of the newsletter back then. This was an important article, I feel, of mine because it's a circulation pattern, a small denomination, regal Spanish silver. So I'm not counting the 8 reals or counterfeits or a couple other counters. This is all regal. And I had written this in 2006, and I found, of course, more Spanish pieces since then, but nothing's really changed. The figures and percentages I'll give in this are basically nothing's really changed to change what I have here. So at the time, I had 79 total pieces of Spanish silver, regal, halves, ones, twos. That came out of 71 sites of mine. So that's spread all over the place. And what I found out was bust type, by far the most dominant type circulated in the region. 65 of the 79 pieces, or 82%, were bust. Now this is hunting sites that are older, before bust, later, and you just don't see the earlier type Spanish pieces that circulated that highly. Pillar pieces, 10%. They're the Spanish pieces I found. That's it. You would think they would still be around during that other time period, or a lot of them had wear on them showing they were used at a later time period. Historines, very uncommon here, but very common down in Virginia, probably Maryland, down there. 4%. Cob type, really don't find cobs. I have one site, that's not really a good example because I had one site where I found 2 cobs, and it was my earliest site. So for some reason, I mean, I'm sure they circulated the bigger pieces, like you said, in trade, but it just don't make sense that they didn't circulate more up here than what this is showing. But that's a pretty good representative from all them sites. Now, I even broke it down farther. Sites for most all coppers post-date 1800. Now, what that means is when I find a site, most of the coppers are 1800 or later dated. But 68 of the 37 total sites, 25 pieces or 68% are documented with Spanish silver. So 68% of the sites had Spanish silver. Now this is 1800 and probably up to about 1840. So it's loaded with Spanish silver. Sites where most of coppers predate 1800, 31 sites, only 5 of the sites, or 16%, are documented with Spanish silver. So look how quick it drops when you get into the 1700s, how much of the silver. And then the last one's not a good figure because like I said, I don't have that many sites pre-1700. I already was settled in 1677, so I got a few sites, but not too many. But that gives you an overall picture of what was going on in South Jersey and the general area at that time period where what was being used. Now from that, I want to go into some other interesting things. James Budd and Mark Doobie circulate their small change in 17th century West Jersey. This is one of my C4 articles from 2008. This token is one of the English trade tokens from England and dated 1666. These tokens were made before England started making the farthings, the size that we know them, like Charles II's the first full-size, full-weight farthing. Before that, they didn't really, we used gold and silver and no copper, but in the early 1600s, they did use those little rials or those Charles I little tiny, they're about the size of a smaller than a half dime, but they were the only small fraction, farthings and half pennies they considered back then. But they needed small change for businesses in England. So what they would use these little tokens for is if somebody buys something, they give them change. And when they come back, have enough of them, they would exchange it for money worth its value. But anyway, the point of this is this coin was interesting because I just happened to look it up and say, I wonder who James Budd is. And lo and behold, he settled in Burlington City, New Jersey, Burlington County. He came from England. His family had a grocery over there. Him and his brother were elected to the Assembly of West Jersey alongside Thomas Budd, who is famous for the Mark Newby coins, St. Patrick farthings. So it's funny, they both sat in on assembly together. Mark Newby had his coins approved for legal tender in New Jersey. And of course, these tokens are so small and light, and that's probably why they didn't do anything with them. But the family brought them over here to circulate because the coins at that time period were minimal. So that's kind of important. And with that in mind, there it is there. I couldn't find the actual picture. So I had to take a picture out of our newsletter. That was found by John Parks in Florence Township, New Jersey. That was the first article. Then lo and behold, last December, a friend of mine found one. Wow. This is mine here. I bought that out of England because I had to have one. It was dug there, obviously, but I had to have one. Now, a friend of mine found one just last December, and I was really surprised and thrilled by it because it shows that the family brought more over and circulated them. So they circulated. Like I said, they're small, they're light. The first token was recovered in Florence, second in Springfield Township. Both townships border Burlington Township and Burlington City, so they're right there in the surrounding area. So they circulated. So this is showing evidence that even those English little tokens were that important. West Jersey is known to be associated with Philadelphia, East Jersey with the New York area. So I don't know if everybody knows that, but that's just an interesting fact because you always hear North Jersey, South Jersey. But there was no such thing back then. It was East Jersey and West Jersey. And here's the one you just found in December. So I would just bring them points up because I thought, you know, simple things, and that's not necessarily worth a lot of money, but in historical importance, it's really interesting. Without metal detecting, you would never know this. And while we're on them tokens, I found a Will Stanley of Galway, an Irish token, and the Irish one's a little bit more scarce. And what happened was, a bit of time later, I found another piece 9 miles away from that piece at another site. So then again, I tried researching Will Stanley, and I'm not coming up with anything. I'd like to try to find out if he came here, settled here, but why would he not have if more tokens were brought here and 9 miles apart they circulated? So that's the first one I found, Neesham Township. There's the second one I found in Morristown, New Jersey, along the Rancocas River. I cleaned it up a bit. Come up pretty good. So then again, there's same evidence again with these tokens. St. Patrick's. This is interesting. I live 25 miles from where Mark Newby lived. Okay, I've been hunting how many years? I found one St. Patrick farthing. Either they were lost more down towards him. It's all built up along the river because it's right across from Philly, right below Camden. And it's so built up now, and his property was destroyed many years ago. But as far as, I found this one by accident, it's most likely from Site 12, because I remembered a coin. I saw O-R, and I thought it was George's. And what happened was over years, I put a lot of junk coins, they're unreadable. To identify them, put them in a rock tumbler, tumble them, and it brought out a lot of definition on them, and I was able to attribute many more coins by doing that. A few got worse, but most got better. And lo and behold, I could see it was the St. Patrick farthing. Now, Sid Martin, in his book on St. Patrick's, he gave a listing of all the known pieces found in the U.S. And we do have some that are non-local. We have Laurel, Maryland, New Bern, North Carolina, Greenwich, New Jersey, which is far south Jersey, Playwicky, PA, Massachusetts, Connecticut line, Green, New York, Philadelphia, I-95, mine in Burlington County, Chester County, PA, Cumberland County, New Jersey. But when considering this is where they're from, that's not a whole lot. And I have no known halfpenny size found. I have never heard of any being found as of yet. That doesn't mean they haven't been, but I have not seen that. Here it is here. You could make it out. You could see the cross, the halo, and this was, yeah, you could see Floriat. That's pretty rough, but identifiable. Another interesting thing is Don Hartman recently, 2020, wrote that article, his study on New Jersey coppers. And that's helped a lot as far as showing where they travel, how many, what state, different states they have been found in, how many, what counties. And I thought this is important because it's bringing a lot of things to light. He's in the process of writing a new article, and I didn't want to use any of that info because this is already published and it's easier just to follow through with this. But this is just a general idea. This will give you an idea what he did. He would list them, how many found in each state. 19 states, 6 Canadian provinces. And actually this, since 2021, was found in East Texas at a fort site from the 1830s. So they even traveled that far. That'll probably be in the next one. But, and he put down how many are ID by variety, total recovered per state. This year, there's 880 identified by variety. 79 different varieties at the time were found in the survey so far. And there's all the breakdown, but you can find this in the C4 newsletter. But I think it's very important because it shows what's being found out there. And there's sometimes differences between what we know as coin collectors in the coin collecting world as far as numbers out in the field. This is something you have to look into, but the chart's worth looking at. This just gives a breakdown of the counties. Of course, in North Jersey, it's built up. You're not going to get that many up there. We're here down. This is basically where you get the majority of your New Jerseys. Now, another thing Don wrote was 1786, New Jersey copper, 10.5 C, a rarity 8 was found. Second note example. Plymouth, Massachusetts in 2017. Funny thing about it, here we are, we're talking about all these books coming out, and the Connecticut book came out, and wouldn't you know it that, let's see, it's another one, I'm sorry. So this was found, they contacted Don Hartman on a Facebook post, Don's New Jersey Copper Survey. They had no idea what they had. And if it wasn't for the metal detecting group trying to contact and doing our searches like we do, this coin could have been lost and we'd never know about it. It was eventually sold by Stack's Bowers Galleries in Las Vegas auction, and I do have a picture of it. It's a bit rough, but it's a rarity 8, so. A Virginia cast counterfeit. An article written by Roger Mind, Steve Dolnack. This was a 1773 lead cast Virginia halfpenny. It was recovered by Steve Dolnack while metal detecting piles of excavated dirt in Philadelphia I-95 construction site. Back then, me and Steve were hunting Philly. You had the I-95, the actual construction of it. That was in the 70s, so 1974, 1975. But the dirt got put behind the UPS building in Philadelphia off Oregon Avenue. And what happened in 1988, they went and moved the dirt to make the parking lot bigger, and it was a bonanza back there. All kinds of stuff was found. So that's the period when that was found. But it's the only one known, poor condition. Of course, it's old and part of it's broke, but it's hard to say. According to the article, was it made to be circulated as a cast? Did it serve as a mold maker, or was it a trial piece, or was it a one-time operation? Well, anyway, at this time, we cannot confirm and hope of future discoveries. There's many people that metal detected back in those days, and a lot of those people have passed on. They were older, and we still have not found all their collections. There could be anything in there. So that's another thing I think we're looking into. I know Dan was looking into that a little bit because there's a really lot of important things to come out of there. This is the X-ray fluorescence on it. Iron 1.5, tin 46.4, copper 0, lead 50%. And here's that wonderful specimen right there. It's actually on display downstairs in the case. Here's another rarity. 1787 Connecticut copper, R9, found by Don Bailey in 21, Connecticut. Here's another. Don Bailey posts his find the next day on Facebook and asks if anyone would know the variety of the coin. Don Hartman had just purchased Randy Clark's new Connecticut book and discovered the piece was unusual and could be a new variety. After several contacts with C4 members at the 21 C4 convention, a view of the coin in hand, it was converted to a new variety. There's many discoveries there in the ground to be made. Here it is here. Bit rough, but the detail's pretty nice. That's my time. This was a New England sixpence, NE. Only 8 known, and it was found back in 1990 in a potato field on Long Island. It's a picture from Coin World, and that was sold in auction. I know probably more than once, I think 2 or 3 times since. Lord Baltimore, Denarium, rarity 7, found down there in St. Mary's Town by a couple college students. Hunting a cellar hole, I think. So, and that's probably detail-wise. That would rate pretty high out of all the ones, out of all the known pieces, I should say. Just recently, that Lord Baltimore shilling was found down in Virginia, Suffolk, 2021. Metal detectors. That was up for auction too. Stack's Bowers Galleries. That's probably one of the finest detailed pieces known. That's what they're saying about that piece. Now, some observations. This is just something I noticed. I had some observations of coins of what I found and how I see different patterns and they circulate. Basically, South Jersey here. Like I said, the Spanish pieces, mostly bust, small amounts of pillar, pistarines, cobs, a small change. Virginia, Maryland, get out to this part of PA, you'll find pistarines, more pillars, cobs. Because I believe the main reason is the waterway. You have the waterway, Chesapeake, coming up the Schuylkill River. And once it comes up through Schuylkill River, they had trade routes and everything, and trade flourished this way, where I think more trade flourished like this. It's just an observation by what I'm finding in this net, but they find a lot more than we do in our area, those type pieces. Nuva Constellatio coppers, modern numbers in South Jersey. I found only 5 myself. They circulated, not in any high degree. Did they go anywhere where there are large amounts anywhere else? I don't know. No borax. New York coppers. I've never found one. One come on. I have sites in Delaware and Maryland too. I hunt, but they're not included in my survey. But one was found on one of my sites down there by a friend who gave it to me, a New borax. Massachusetts coppers. I've never found one. I think I might have known of 1 or 2 being found, South Jersey. There seems like it's the same with mass silver. Few recovered in South Jersey. I found only a 1 cut piece all the years of hunting. It just didn't circulate. I think a lot of times, most of the pieces I've seen that come out of South Jersey, the few pieces I've heard of, most of them have a lot of wear, indicating that they came down at a later time with change. It seems like the Massachusetts coins hung around Boston area, Massachusetts, because I don't know of many being outside of that area very often. Not that they aren't, but far and few, I believe. Vermont coppers, small amounts of South Jersey, I got 3. I did find a landscape. Connecticut coppers, moderate amounts in South Jersey. I found 12. We get to Central Jersey and North Jersey, double, triple that probably. Because I have friends that live on the border and they find them quite a bit. And I say, damn, another Connecticut. I can't find that many. So just a lot of interesting things you could come up by metal detecting. But I can't put it in writing because there's no, I could put my thoughts like this, but how am I going to prove it? You know what I mean? Virginia coppers, modern numbers, I found 5. So that's small numbers too. St. Patrick, 1 myself. Impact of metal detecting finds. Okay, well, it reveals unique and rare finds, provides context and historical significance, provides research opportunities, reveals circulation patterns, affects rarity scales and values, introduces metal detectors into collecting colonial coins, and or possibly joining C4. Provides a cost-effective approach to collecting colonial coins. Auction house and dealer opportunities for the finder, bidder, and or buyer. So there's many opportunities. This is the last slide. And this kind of gives you an idea of my sites. Permanently destroyed, 52%. So if I didn't do this and document what I had, it would be gone. 17% inaccessible, either new owners or they moved the dirt or something happened. 31% are intact, but they're probably hunted to death. That's about all I have. If anybody has any questions?
Okay, we have time for a couple of questions.
Yes.
Yeah, a couple of quick comments. One, obviously,
Really? Oh, but that's all right. That's neat for.
Talking to Dan Stevens, before the Griffey St. Patrick's sale, I brought in my friend Mark Newby, was a descendant of the Newby family.
Right, I remember.
And what had happened was the family moved to North Bern, North Carolina. They explained, at least they brought some coins with them, and one was found in North Carolina.
Oh, okay.
So, little pieces of history.
Oh, that's interesting.
The elevator, but these
Yes,
clearly, but it looked like it was the grocer's arm on the Reaver.
yes, I think it is a grocer's.
Yeah.
That's also a grocer.
Yeah, so you might be able to track more on there.
Right.
And then on the St. Patrick's piece is, that was an unusual coinage in early history because it was redeemable. So they made the family set aside money to redeem the coffers when they got turned in.
Okay.
So I think fewer would be lost because there was, there was potential to get real money out of it.
That's interesting.
The coppers panic happened, your potential was worth melt value. And you couldn't redeem it for full value. So more of those could have been lost, even though there might be some circulation.
That's interesting.
I want to thank Wayne for the talk. I just want to make an observation that I love the detailed information in South Jersey, and I'd love to see the same kind of thing in maybe New England, maybe in the South, to give us even more information about circulation patterns. And I want to please thank Wayne for. I do. Oh, thank you. I think Dale wants to take a picture of us. Dale? No, but Dale, no thought bubbles.
No thoughts.